OK Bridges here, and I'm over at Pawnee with Barbara Fulton for our annual play day, and I brought a few machines over, and there's a few machines that are left here all the time that Barbara's using to do a sewing project on, and she's using a 1912 Singer 128 that you've seen on this channel before, viewers. And she's also used this Singer 99, which I think was made in 1912 or 13, that I haven't done a video yet on, but someday. And she's actually been giving my machines quite a little bit of a workout, as you can see by the pile of fabric here that's been sewn together. And I believe those are being made into things such as this. But Barbara, what can you tell us about what you're doing here? And I'll sort of let you have the floor for a few moments.
Well, Wes, I'm putting squares together in like a chain fashion on these wonderful vintage machines. You got me started on these several years ago now, and I love them. They work wonderfully. I used this one till the bobbin was out. That's my goal today, is to run bobbins out and use as many of Wes's machines as I possibly can, just for the fun of it, since it's a play day. And this one happens to bounce as it stitches. Bounce, 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 bounce. That's because, let me get to the end here. That's because, as you know, your viewers know, Wes, there's a bullet shuttle down in here, and it's a very unique kind of a bobbin. So it's threaded, and Wes, I don't want to have to unthread it.
That's fine. Yeah, don't unthread it.
But it goes back and forth, and as it does, the needle bounces up and down, and so
That's
it's
right.
really fun to watch stitch. And this machine has really worked a hard life. I mean, she has worked a hard life, but she is so smooth. I mean, it's like smooth as butter with a hot knife. She just goes and goes, and all the mechanics of it just are so well timed. It's incredible, Wes, that these machines have outlasted the newer machines. They're easy to maintain. I mean, you have shown people the bottoms of the machines. They're easy to maintain. You oil them. You don't water them like a pet or a car. But you keep them oiled and dust-free as best you can, you know, with little covers or like your bentwood cases and things like that. And they just look at this beautiful case. They last for a long time, and your viewers can't see this side of the machine. Let me turn it around and show them, because they may not know what I'm talking about here. Now, you might ask, what the heck's the masking tape for? Well, that's because I use it as a cheater. I use it here for my seams, and then I can butt my fabric up to it. But you can see that this machine has been well used, but yet she still runs just like a champ. I mean, just a champ. See if I can do this backwards. Well, this ought to be cool. Let's see. It's play day, right?
It's a play day.
All right, so if it's going backwards this way, I have to bring this way. See how she bounces? She can go fast and slow. Oh, I've never done this before backwards. It's really awkward, people.
Yeah. Don't run your machines from the wrong way.
Don't try this unless you're experienced, right? So it's bobbin winder. See this little disc here is in the shape of a heart? Well, what that does is there's a guide here. And so as the little, I call them dumbbell, I don't know if there's another extra one in here, but they're like these little skinny dumbbells. And it goes into this post, and then there's this heart down here. And what the heart does is when it reaches one end of the heart, it actually makes the bobbin winder reverse to the other side. Now, a tip for those of you who are using these, and I just wound a bobbin and told Wes about it a moment ago, thread, guide, and I put it in the opposite direction, excuse me, on these discs, and then over to the little pin that it threads into, and then this guide that actually puts it onto the dumbbell. I know there's a better term for it. It worked like a charm. So those of you who are using these, and you know, there's really the newer machines have a little device here with more of the clamps that, you know, help guide it up. But that worked really great. It's the first time I tried it today. So.
Yeah, that's a really good tip because viewers, what she's talking about is the Singer instructions will tell you to run it from the spool to this guide and then back. But you'll often find that running it across this guide and back, the thread tends to want to bounce off of this guide, which makes a mess. And so by doing what she's doing, which is run the thread over and then backwards through the tension discs with the presser foot up, so there's no tension, it's just a guide, it eliminates the problem of the thread bouncing off of that guide post like it will so often do. It will bounce off that guide post or creep out of the guide post, and then it will want to come straight down and it will tangle up.
Just like it did here,
Just like it's doing there, yes. Yeah.
And then that creates, I've noticed anyway, that creates a lopsided, the way the bobbin winds. It winds more full on one side than the other.
Yeah.
And you kind of want them to be tight and then evenly wound.
That is right.
That was a discovery for today's play day.
So that's a great tip that she's discovered and is sharing with you all. If you're having trouble with, and this applies to more than just Singer machines, but a lot of other brands had a thread guide, threading guide for winding the bobbins in a similar way that to do that. So what do you think? You've been liking using this 128. What about the 99 here? What are you thinking of it? You enjoyed using it?
I've enjoyed using both of them. And you know, and your viewers don't know, I have a 99 myself that was given me, and I use it exclusively. I mean, at home, it's 95% of the time I'm using my hand crank 99. The 128 is a tight little machine. The hand crank itself doesn't have any play like some of the hand cranks will. The newer hand cranks have some play in them. So when you're using them, they're kind of kinking it, and you can, you know, you get used to it. But this is tight. I mean, it's not so tight it doesn't run, but it's tight in the way that it moves and it functions. So I can't say I like one over the other because they're both. This is fun. Oh, excuse me. This is fun to watch the needle do its bounce.
Do the little bounce, yeah.
But after, if you've got all your rhythm, and you know these machines, Wes, you have to get a rhythm. Like with anything else, you get a rhythm, and you know, just like with the motor machines, you hear how it's working. You know, you're going too fast because it starts to have a little hiccup in there. I mean, it keeps up just fine, but you find your rhythm, and you know, with the bouncing needle, you don't even see it bouncing. You know, you can run these things full blast really fast, but why?
Yeah, why?
Why? I mean, you know, we're all in a hurry sometimes to get a project done, but why run it so fast that it's I don't know, it's cathartic to use these, Wes.
Yeah.
It's just cathartic in a way. You know, you sit here and you hear the rhythm going, and you get your own rhythm, and your thoughts seem to wander. And it's been said that's a lot of what happens to creative sewists is their mind just starts to wander, and their hands do what they're supposed to, and before long, you've got a pile of little squares that you need to clip and make into a quilt.
Oh, well, that's very, very cool.
Do you have any other questions for me?
Well, I was going to ask. You said you have a '99 at home that's hand cranked. Was that machine a hand crank machine when you got it, or?
As a matter of fact, it was a motor machine.
It was a motor machine.
It had a hang-on motor on the back, and it had its motor was in this portion of the case, and I actually took the motor off. My sweetheart took the motor off for me, I should say. And then it was real simple. I have, a non-original hand crank, but I got a hand crank. I bought one, and then you just fasten it on right here.
Yes.
You fasten it on right here. Now mine doesn't have the Y fasteners like this one does, and I think that's the difference. I think this Y. I don't know if Wes can see that. I think this Y fasten here.
Yeah, she's talking about on these original Singer hand cranks. This piece and this piece are separate pieces, and on the new ones, it's all one piece.
And I think it gives it more stability. It seems like, you've got stability with the single end, but then, you think about triangles, and how triangles are one of the strongest, in construction they use triangles a lot because it's stable and it can hold more weight.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that isn't why these
Or
older ones feel more stable.
More stable.
Yeah.
That's a very good possibility.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. But you converted your electric 99 that you were given to hand crank, and you've got two machines now that you've done that with, converted from electric to hand crank. A lot of times when I bring this up to people, and the viewers might be curious, they're like, why? And you've expounded on the many virtues of it, that it's obviously not a big deal for you to use one hand to operate the machine, the other hand to guide the fabric, and that you feel there's a lot of benefits to it overall.
I do. I've sewn 60 years. I've been a seamstress for 60 years. And the motorized, you can go fast and you can have all your decorative stitches and things like that. But what I find is the sewing that I do now is, I don't like to go over my pins on my motorized machines. I've broken so many needles, and I've frayed a needle, and then I've got that little piece down below. This, because you can actually control how fast you go. Do it backwards again. When you go to a needle, you can actually slow it down. Let me turn it around.
Yeah, do it the way that's comfortable. We'll be able to see from here.
Yeah, I feel like I'm trying to show off here. I'm doing it backwards. Okay, so let's get this up here. Okay, so all the thread's good. So when I come to a pin, I can just slow this down and kind of work it over a pin, right? And when you sew with a motorized machine, you almost have to stop it, pull the pin out, get it to go again. If you want to go slow, you've got that motor in there wanting to go a little faster maybe than you want to go, right? So you've got that, the groan.
Yeah, it always seems like the minimum speed of the machine is faster than you want it to be.
Right, and with the hand crank, I don't find that. Now, I was using a 220 motorized featherweight just last Friday, and I sewed on it for like an hour and 45 minutes, not completely straight through, but I was taking pins out and sewing, and taking pins out and sewing, and it was motorized, and the motor was overheating. Because, as my research indicated, the stop-start of the motor made the motor get hot. And it was like the foot pedal got hot too. But so with something like this, you don't have to worry about overheating a motor, right? And, granted, the machine is, what, 60, 70 years old. So, and I don't know how, if it was the original motor or not, because it was a loaner to me. But you don't have to worry about that with one of these.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And just so the viewers know, you do have, I think there's you do have one electric machine at home that you do like to use too. So you're not exclusively a hand cranker. But you realize that the different types of machines have their different places for the type of work that you do.
Right. I have 26 machines, like you.
Yeah.
I don't have as many as you do. But I have quite a few sewing machines, and all makes. My decorative machines, if I want to do like a decorative hem on like a baby blanket or something,
Yeah.
Like a scallop or teeth or whatever, I am going to have to use a modern motor machine.
Yes.
Right. But, and then I've acquired also an Italian Nietzsche, and it zigzags. It used to have a wheel for like 100 different stitches. I don't have the wheel. It's called the Miracle Wheel. But I do like it. It's a heavy machine like these are, so it's not going to crawl all over the table. It's not going to bounce on the table. Mm-hmm. And those of you who have worked on the plastic surfaces know that if you have a motorized machine and you're running it at a certain speed, your table's bouncing, and you're kind of, right? Depending on the spans of your table. And so, it's nice to have a heavier machine that stabilizes the table a little bit more. And quite frankly, with the hand crank, you don't have to worry about that. So,
Oh, very cool.
I really enjoy all kinds of machines, but since I've discovered these, 4 or 5 years ago, Wes, mm-hmm. I really have fallen in love with them. I don't treadle very well. I think they're a lot of fun. I'm not as coordinated as other people to do the foot but I'm sure I could do it if I practiced long enough.
Yeah.
But so have I answered your question?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is very good.
Great.
Yeah. Well, we're going to end the video here by just sort of watching you do a little bit of more work on that machine and just so the viewers can see that. And I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us today.
Well, you're sure welcome. I enjoy talking about these machines. I have friends that get tired of hearing me talk about them. But I would like to say it is Veterans Day today, and I myself and others want to say how much we are grateful for those who have been willing to sacrifice their lives and families for the freedom of us, our friends, and our families. So thank you to all the vets out there, and stay safe as you can. So let's get this going here. And, I got this pile. I got to move my pile. So let's go here. So I'm taking these squares and I'm putting them together. And as you can see, my stack over here is declining. So I'm trying to do what's called a 9-patch. So that's where I have 3 squares across the top and 3 squares down. So you can see there's 9. So they're all alternating. I don't know, is that too glary?
Oh no, that's perfect. That's good.
Yeah. And so I'm actually using this very fabric. So I've just set a seam. I've used my seam gauge. I like to get it just a little bit over 1/4 of an inch because and so you can see the fabric is coming right up against this tape that I've put here as my seam guide. I used to not think it was very important to have a seam guide. I'm just going to rattle on here until you shut me off. I used to not think it was very important to have a seam guide, but it actually is. It helps the squares have uniformity. And you know what? I'm not really as good as I thought I was engaging the correct seam. I'm close, but I'm not as exact as running this up against this painter's tape. I've probably got like 5 or 6 layers of painter tape, so there's some thicknesses there. And another tip is I like to fold it over so that I can get it on and off. And if you saw, I do reuse it until it's not sticky anymore. That's because I'm cheap. Frugal. I'm not cheap. I'm frugal.
You're frugal.
I'm frugal. Hopefully your listeners are listening.
Well, I think there's a fair number of viewers on this channel that are here just for the sewing machine videos. So I'm sure they're eating this all up right now.
Well, I hope they've enjoyed this sewing with me, and I sure enjoy these machines.
Well, thank you, Barbara, and to echo what she said, happy Veterans Day, and thank you for your service to all of our veterans that are out there. And this is Oklahoma Bridges with our guest Barbara here again, and we're just going to end the video watching her sew a little bit here.